Hey everyone, and welcome back to my free-to-play channel. Here I am going to be showing you guys free-to-play tricks and kind of document my progress and show you guys how I do certain things that I do. I am by no means an insane player. I don't even have any Gear 13 players. In fact, I don't even have any Zetas. This is my roster, so it's pretty weak, if you see. But I have been able to unlock some pretty interesting stuff, and as a completely free-to-play player, I just want to show you guys kind of what you guys can do and give some tips for newer players. So on today's episode, we're going to be talking about how I got Padme Amidala to 7 stars as a free-to-play. And this is probably my most proud achievement in this game, because she is one of the top meta teams in Arena. She can be used really well in raids and territory battles, territory wars. So you can do a lot of cool stuff with her. But however, her event is extremely difficult, especially with Separatist characters. So let's go to our Separatist tag. And I'm going to show you what I used. So I used an Asajj Ventress, Count Dooku, Geo Spy, Poggle, and Sunfac. Now, there are a lot of different ways to do this event, and this is definitely not the easiest way. The easiest way is probably Grievous lead with a bunch of droids, and then it might even be, or it could be even a Geo lead. However, Genos and Brute Alpha and General Grievous are really difficult for free-to-play players when they first start out, and even down the way. And I don't envision myself using characters like Droidica or B1, because they're really difficult farms. 5B, Fleet Battle, and 8B hard on the light side, normal energy. So these obviously take a very long time, and a lot of free-to-play players can't exactly afford that, and a lot of players have these characters right here. So let's start with Asajj. She's gonna be your main, survivable damage dealer. You need to have her at Gear 12. In fact, this is the only Gear 12 character I have, and that's almost a must for this event for 7 stars. This event is very difficult, so you need at least this character to Gear 12. I have all of her abilities maxed out. I didn't use her leadership, so I really didn't spend that much time upgrading it that much. And her unique can be extremely valuable. I was really lucky, and I didn't need to do it with a Zeta, but this Zeta can be extremely helpful, and it's one of the best Zetas in the game. So if you want to use that, and also she's very compatible with Night Sister teams, so you can use this character everywhere, and she's a huge damage dealer, and she has a lot of good uniques. She has a buff dispel, that's really helpful, and she can recover health. She has an AOE, and it can and all her cooldowns can be refreshed if she kills an enemy. So there's a lot of cool stuff. This has stun on basic, which is huge. This is definitely the most important thing that you want. So getting that Omega is a priority. Count Dooku. A lot of people do not like using him for this event, but he's very easy to act. Oh, going back to Asajj. Asajj can be really easily farmed in the Squad Arena store. And Count Dooku, going back to Count Dooku, he is a very accessible free-to-play character. He can be one of the first characters you get in the game. And a lot of players do not like using him for the Padme event. However, his stuns are really important, and if you can get good RNG and kind of like limit his counterattacks, you'll be in tip-top shape. You can farm him. He has 2 hard nodes and a Cantina node, so it's not that bad of a farm at all. So his basic can stun. The main thing you're going to want him is for his stuns. Stun and ability block is huge in this, and he has a pretty high chance of doing that, and he can attack twice on his turn. This attack does a ton of damage, and it stuns and shocks, so they can't get any buffs. Master Mikashi is important. You're going to want the Omega on this, because a lot of times you want the opposing players to go to the tanks, because if you counterattack, they'll gain protection up. and that's really difficult to attack or to like dispel. And also when you max out, and also this he ignores protection, and he stealths all the other allies. So if you're using Geospy, that helps. His leadership is not the worst leadership. I will go over this a little bit later after I've gone through the rest, but you're gonna want this as your leader, and a lot of people will be very confused about this because there is counterattack in here, but just wait for that. Geospy is gonna be the main damage dealer with Asajj, and his basic is not that big of a deal, but if you get it up, that's great. Silent Strike is the move right here. This is the ability that you want to put all your resources into, right? You can do 40% more damage for each any effect dispelled. So he'll do that. He dispels on himself and the target ally. This is kind of like Boba Fett's Execute and General Grievous's or Darth Vader's Culling Blade. So those are really powerful attacks, and you're going to want to use this. I'll talk about kill order a little bit later and who to use that on, but that's important. This ability is pretty necessary. I wouldn't call it necessary, but it's really helpful because you can expose all your own enemies, and if you can get that exposed on a few enemies, he immediately gets another turn, so you have another buff on your target enemy, so you get an extra 40% damage. So that's really helpful. So I have him at gear 11. Pago the Lesser. This guy you really kind of want because he's an easy free-to-play player. You can get him in the Galactic War. He has 2 hard nodes, so it's really really accessible character. He's really not that great unless he's with a Geonosian team, but he does work in this team. He has an ability block on basic, which is pretty useful. Again, can prevent Anakin's AOE attack, which just murders people in tier 7, or it can prevent the Jedi Fishmaster to Jolie. The Fishmaster is Jolie Bindo, but with a Mon Calamari. But you're gonna want this to be able to ability block, so he can't revive after you've killed one of the Jedi. And this is, although this is a call to assist, which will give your enemies protection up. You dispel all buffs, and you can gain turn meter, and you also get offense up, which can be super helpful. His leadership is okay. I was kind of fiddling around with this because offense is really what you need in this, and also good RNG as with any event. But yeah, you don't really. It's not that necessary. Sunfac is extremely important right now. So for this event, he is the most essential. It really won't work unless you have a great tank to kind of protect your really weak, to protect your flimsy attackers in Spy. Browbeat is so underrated because this dispels, and the problem is that like whenever you get a critical hit on one of the enemies, Kenobi immediately starts taunting, and that can just go haywire, and you really don't want that. Subjugate is a second ability, and he can taunt, so you can force all the enemies on him to save those attackers, and he can also remove turn meter and inflict offense down. Spiteful Strike is also great. He can blind and stagger and daze, so it's pretty great. If you want to kind of avoid some of those huge attacks, if you want to remove turn meter with stagger, so there's a lot of interesting things you can do there. Hive Tactics is good for this. A lot of people don't like counter in this, I'm telling you, because whenever you counter, you get that protection up. But if you think about it, you kind of want Sunfac to counter, because when characters counter, they use their basic, and his basic dispels buffs. So he can dispel Kenobi's buff, or he can dispel like an offense or like a critical immunity, or like a offense up for Anakin. So there's a lot of things, and he gets more potency, which is good for his Spiteful Strike. That's really all you need. I don't have the Omega on this. It's not that important. Subjugate, you don't really need the Omega on that either, because a lot of debuff dispels happen a lot from your enemies, so it's not going to help you out too much with the potency. So I have him at gear 10. I have Pago at gear 10. I have Geospy at gear 11. Count Dooku at gear 11, and Asajj Ventress at gear 12. So all of these guys starting from scratch, starting from literally like 0 shards for almost all of these characters. It took me about 4 months, so I started in about like December, and or to get them all geared up and all sharded up, free to play. It took me about I would say about 4 months. Yeah, that sounds about right. Maybe a little bit less than 4 months. I did start maybe towards the end, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. So, I have no extra gear pieces, just gear 12. Count Dooku has 2 and 3. Geospy has 2. Pago has all of them except 1. I could get him up, but you really don't need to gear up such a like useless character later. And then Sunfac, you kind of need him at gear 10 because you need him to be really beefy. My mods are not great, as you can see it all here. I only have 2 like 6E mods. They're okay mods, I guess. 9 speed, that's really nothing. Speed is important, but in this event, it's not like King compared to Arena and Grand Arena and some other events. So Asajj, you really want that crit damage triangle. You want to get her to get as much damage, especially on basic. And I put a critical damage set and a potency so that she can land her stuns. So that's essentially it. These are not great speed mods at all. Here are stats. About 20,000 health, 45,000 protection, really low speed. And also, if you do put a Zeta on her, her speed goes up, so you really don't need to put speed. Speed isn't that important if you're going to put that Zeta on her, which I highly recommend. I was about to put the Zeta on her actually until I was on track to get a Zeta soon, but I don't really need her anymore. So these are our stats. Count Dooku, he does not have, so none of my characters, I just don't have great mods in general, but if you look at him, I did have speed mod with plus 30 speed on the arrow, defense on the triangle, defense, offense. This one has plus 17. This is a pretty decent mod right here. Yeah, so pretty simple stuff. Geospy is critical chance because you want him to get critical hit when he does his second ability for that huge damage, and you want critical damage up. These are his stats. Really low health, low protection, okay speed for this compared to my other stuff. Pago the Lesser, put a speed mod on him because you just want to get that offense up if you want to get it before Geospy. This is Spiteful Strike. I have a health mod just for survivability. Survivability is really huge, especially in tier 7. Okay speed for me, I guess. Health is okay, protection okay. Potency is like that could be an area to focus on if you want to focus on the ability blocks. Tenacity, So Sunfac is another important thing. So I have 2 health sets and a defensive set, and I have protection on the triangle. I have protection on the defense, potency for his last attack, and this is an okay speed, I guess. Defense, primary offense, and health primary. So very health heavy, super slow right here, but great health compared to my other characters for this event. Alright, so these are the 5 that I used, but a lot of people like to also use B2, and I did like invest in him for a little bit, but the problem is I just did not find his survivability that great. His health wasn't as what I expected, and the reason why people like him is for this, which is a buff immunity, and he gets like turns almost immediately whenever like a separatist ally gets damaged. He immediately gets a turn. He's a high chance of doing that. So the thing is that like that is great and all, but the problem is that Kenobi and Padme can dispel that super quickly, and it really doesn't matter a lot of the time. So that's that. And I really couldn't do it with him in any of the tiers. I tried it, but it didn't really work. So I used these 5 on the top, and yeah. So let me show you the strategy for tier 5. So we can go to tier 5 first. So this event gets really difficult from tier 4 to 5. Tier 4 is pretty easy, but tier 5 is where it gets a little tricky. So I like to use this lineup right here. And so Dooku's leadership, going back to Dooku's leadership, the reason why it's so great is because Sun Fac almost has a 100% counter chance, and he can remove this Kenobi taunt. So what I'm going to do right now is actually stealth. Alright, that's interesting. So, there's no courage to deal with, so we don't have to worry about that. But I'm going to stun Anakin, because Anakin's a big damage dealer. There we go, we got a stun. And if you look at that, Master Makashi ignores protection. Alright, so let's go for expose. And now we get an extra turn, and let's see, I'm going to basic on Padme, stun Padme, there we go, Sun Fac's alive, and let's do basic right here, let's taunt, let's do stun if we can, let's go, ability block, and this is the problem, Kenobi keeps taunting, so look at that. We got that counter, and then we're gonna one-shot Padme, 58,000 damage. That's great. Now we're okay. Now we just need to worry about this guy. We just don't want him to revive. So now we're gonna stun him, and that's great. Let's stun Anakin. Let's go to Fishmaster. Let's use this basic ability. See, ability block comes in handy if you can land it. Oh, it's a great stun right there. We can stun Kenobi, Count Dooku, and Spy, ignore protection, or foresight, I mean. Alright, so let's get this guy now. Put that away. Use that. Now we got that stun. Expose. Basic, and we're good. So I did this. So I actually did tier 5 with with a gear. What is my so I actually did tier 5 with a gear 10 Geospy, and that worked out okay, and yeah, so it's not the worst thing. So tier 6 is the same idea, except you just have to worry about Mace Windu. Hope you don't get stunned. That's really RNG dependent. This is very difficult. I'm probably not going to be able to complete this again, but you'll see how difficult this is. So Padme, so Anakin usually does this AoE. Wow, we got a stun, so that's really interesting. So okay, so your kill order is always gonna be Padme first, because she grants the protection up to leadership, and in tier 7 you have this courage nonsense you gotta worry about. All right, see if we can expose people. Look at that, nothing. So this is done. Anyway, even though that failed, the kill order that you want is Padme first, and then, because once you take her out, she can't give her any protection up abilities anymore on counterattack, so that's when counterattacking becomes super important. Then you're going to want to kill Anakin, because he is literally just the most insane thing, and he just ruins everything. At this stage, tier 7, he just gets so insane with his damage. And then you're gonna want to stun and try to keep these guys subdued while you kill the Fishmaster. So killing Fishmaster is important, because you don't want Anakin to come back, and he can't revive Padme because she's not a Jedi. So that's my guide, and that's how I was able to get a 7-star Padme. And I'm hoping to put in a Galactic Republic team once I get that, but that'll be a really long farm, and that's kind of down the path, and I'm pursuing other things right now. So that's my guide. Thank you everyone for watching, and if you have any comments how you guys did it, or if you have any questions or concerns, just drop it down in the comments. And thanks so much for watching. All right, bye guys.